Welcome to Greek for a Week. I'm glad that you are looking at another opportunity to learn from First Peter. This week we're looking at First Peter chapter 1 verses 14 through 16. Last week we only looked at verse 13, and that was just to kind of get the ball rolling, if you will, for the entire paragraph of 13 through 16. Which I've labeled Hope and Holiness. So this particular paragraph, I purposely have made it somewhat smaller than the previous paragraph where I did verses 3 through 12. I'm going to break this particular paragraph down into a couple of paragraphs. So this one, 13 through 16, we'll wrap up today and we'll diagram it next week and then move on to verse 17 the following week. So let's go ahead and translate here. So we have as obedient children, do not conform yourselves to your former lusts when you were ignorant, but according to, or in accordance to, the Holy One who has called you. You yourselves also be holy in all your conduct, because it is written, you will be holy, because I myself am holy. So let's look at, I've just got a few bullet points here that I wanted to walk through. This won't take long. So the first word here, hos, which is a comparative term. However, in this particular instance, I'm going to suggest it's not functioning as a comparative. Rather, I think what it's doing is it's providing the introduction to a statement that eventually, if you want to say it this way, shows how someone is to be viewed. Well, obviously, Peter is encouraging them to be viewed as one that does not conform themselves, but rather he is holy. So you'll also see in this present middle participle here, present middle participle, okay, masculine nominative plural, of sus ke matizo. I'm going to suggest here that I think it's a couple of different possibilities. Some suggest it's an imperatival participle, that is, do not conform. It's basically giving you the imperative. Or I think it could also be the negative means to the imperative of be. So do not be this, but rather be this. So Forbes, in his exegetical guide to the Greek New Testament, suggests that maybe the negative means, so it would be a participle of means, maybe it could be translated with a little bit of a middle force of the participle as do not allow yourselves to be molded. So as obedient children, by the means of not allowing yourselves to be molded, rather, which is the strong contrast in verse 15 here, rather be holy. So I think I'm leaning more towards the negative means of the imperative here in verse 15. Then you have the en te agnoia. And I'm going to say that's temporal. So I suggested a translation when you were ignorant. So I think it's contrasting the two time periods. Then as you get into verse 15, again, I mentioned the strong contrast of the Allah here. Basically, what are you to do based upon the negative aspect here in verse 14? You are to be. So the tan kalesanta, so here is my adjectival participle, probably an attributive participle, attributing a quality to the Holy One. This participle is an aorist active participle, masculine, accusative, singular of kaleo. And then the gene thete, which is your final word in verse 15, that's a second person plural, aorist middle imperative of genomai. The concept of being holy is what he's after there in verse 15. And then the diati here, the diati is our causal a conjunction here where basically it's introducing the scriptural basis for being holy. Why should Peter encourage them to be holy? Because here we go, it has been written that you will be holy. Again, because I myself am holy, God says. The esseste here, your verb here, that is your second person plural, future middle, indicative of Amy. You will be. So it's a future tense form, likely used imperatively, commanding you that you will be holy. Then, of course, the hati here is causal. Why will you be holy? Because I myself, God says, I am holy. So that's verses 14 through 16. So the paragraph 13 through 16 we've discussed the past 2 weeks here, last week and this week. We'll diagram it next week. Have a great week. Thanks so much for listening.